Today, will Bloomberg's digital skills win him the White House?
Then our married co-founders of Formula for Success.
And Instagram gets serious about TV.
This is Future Forward, and I'm Alexis Cordato.
I am Stephen Rosenbaum. Let us launch. Hey, Alexa, how are you?
Hey, Steve. How's it going?
You know, it's been a busy week, and it's just getting started, so I have a feeling there's going to be lots going on. There's 5 whole days. Well, I guess not really. There's President's Day, which maybe is why we're talking about Bloomberg's digital skills. In any case,
it's winter break for a lot of people.
It is
Kids out of school.
It is winter break for a lot of people. But let us jump right into the Bloomberg thing because there's a lot to cover, and I think in particular. Oh, by the way, before I forget, huge thank you to our friends at IEEE Spectrum who are always helping us with editorial. And Glenn was great last week, and I'm sure he will be back with another topic for us to ponder next week. But this week it's just you and I. So let us dive right in to the Bloomberg digital campaign. So are all your feeds just flooded with Bloomberg digital stuff, or are you somehow like, have you dialed out of that?
It's I'm like way more offline than I used to be, but so much of the content I have seen is commentary about Bloomberg flooding people's timelines.
So, you know, here's the thing, and let's be clear. When we say Bloomberg's digital skills, we don't mean Michael,
the person.
Yeah, no, we
no
don't
way.
mean we mean I don't know how many friends you have. I can think of 4 or 5 people I know that are now working for his campaign.
I know 2 people. Yeah.
So he's hiring smart people, right? I'm seriously smart people. So at the end of the day, you know, he's got people on board, and they're digital, and they're doing memes. They're doing all kinds of kind of trying to out Trump.
Yeah. Should we dive into the New York Times piece about the Jerry Media Instagram meme campaign?
Yes.
So for listeners who don't know, Jerry Media was sort of put on the map, or they're known for viral content, but most recently they were discussed because in the context of the Fire Festival fiasco.
Yes.
So there was a whole Netflix and Hulu, actually 2 documentaries on Fire Festival, and so Jerry Media was in that.
So what I find fascinating is that while you watch these, you know, I mean, Bloomberg is not the first person you think of as comedic, right?
Right.
But somehow the fact that he's putting out kind of like in-your-face Trump editorial doesn't seem inauthentic, even though it's clearly not him at the controls.
Right. I mean, at some level, it's Bloomberg being a CEO, right? It's, you don't know what you don't know, so you're going to hire and surround yourself with people who are good at that thing. And that content really reflects that. I mean, it's a little self-deprecating, and it is sort of very on the nose, but like in a way that I think is pretty effective.
So I have a favorite Bloomberg digital spot.
Okay.
And I have a feeling it's probably not the one that's necessarily your favorite. I'm jumping ahead a couple of links here, but we'll jump back. My favorite, where is it? Oh, here it is. My favorite is Bloomberg claims dogs love him, and it's super short. I'm just going to play it. I saw it on Twitter. Oh, interesting. Oh, here we go. Actually, no, I've confused it. There are 2, but there's a very funny Bloomberg spot. Well, there's a clip of Bloomberg shaking a dog's mouth, which he reaches out to shake the dog's paw, I guess, and the dog kind of opens his. It's just funny. But here's the dog people get me ad from Bloomberg.
Mike Bloomberg is the man to lead us.
He will create more jobs.
Mike's not afraid of the NRA, not one bit.
Trust me, Mike will get it done, yeah.
Get it done, yes.
He does not tweet. Oh,
I like Mike.
I like Mike. I lick Mike. I'm Mike Bloomberg's dog. I approve this message.
I'm Mike Bloomberg, and I approve this message.
So I love that ad because on one hand, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, dog people are suckers for pictures
If
of
you're
dogs.
a dog person, you're
Right.
And dog people are like better people, so.
Yeah, and I like that this ad was paid for by Mike Bloomberg. Tag at the end, which is a Federal Election Commission legality. They deliver from Mike's dog, which is wink, wink, nudge, nudge. By the way, Mike has a dog, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, like, and here's the thing that I'm sure of. He's got all these creative people. They're all coming up with crazy ideas. There's a whiteboard full of ads. They're producing a whole lot of them. They're getting down to, 5 a week or 3 a week or 10 a week or however many it is. But Mike's like there's no way that someone's putting a Dogs Like Mike web video ad out there without him signing off on it.
Yeah, or I mean, I'm not sure how much of a micromanager he is, but
That's funny.
sure, yeah.
That's funny. Micromanager, that's good. Did you? So he's hiring all these digital people. He's really going to town on, trying to, in a sense, really bulk up the digital campaign. And one of the things I have to say that I've been kind of stinging about is how mediocre the Democrats have been overall in terms of digital. I mean,
It's almost like, well, some of it is I'm a marketer, and so if it all boils down to brand and messaging, I mean, this is where the Trump campaign excels, right? They keep it really simple. They really keep it for the masses. I find that the Democratic candidates actually make things too complex, and it completely waters down the overall effect. And Bloomberg is actually just taking a page of the playbook straight from Trump, which is like lowbrow pop culture campaign tactics, which is a little bit sad, right? But at the same time, if you want to win, I think that's what it's going to take.
But here's the line he's walking, and for me anyway, walking well, at least up till this point, which is, it's like the dog thing, and there's another thing where they intercut him with SpongeBob SquarePants and Trump back and forth. Like, it's sharp elbowed, and it's funny, but it's not stupid. Like, he's not really.
Well, you can tell he's being so deliberate about what he's doing. Like, he even dialed up his philanthropic efforts, leading up to announcing that he was going to run. Like, he's doing a lot of shadow operations, and he has the capital to do that, which is, good for him.
So kind of in the spirit of unpacking this whole thing, there's been a conversation on my Facebook over the last 3 or 4 days in which some of my African American friends in particular are virulently, angrily, bitterly, viciously anti-Bloomberg.
Oh, I know tons of people who are anti-Bloomberg.
Yeah.
You see the comments and policies he's made, which I think have worked to the disadvantage of the Black community in New York. And then you also have sexual assault allegations, which he's trying to basically not address. And then you also have, just on premise or principle, people saying we don't need another rich white guy in office, period, full stop.
But it does seem like we're ending up with, okay, irony of ironies, right? So if it comes down to where it seems like at the moment the battle is, it's two older white Jewish guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Bernie
from
goes,
New York.
Yeah, Bernie's not from New York.
Oh, okay.
He's from Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of.
Yeah.
But you're right to say that because, he is, for all intents and purposes,
I think I was just associate with him in New York because I have so many friends here in New York who are hardcore Bernie supporters.
Yeah.
I was like, did you grow up with this guy?
Yeah, no, it's really true. Uh, so let's get to the nugget of the question for this podcast, which is him playing, a better game of ball in the digital space gonna be I mean, first of all, in the next week or 10 days, we're gonna get to see what the market actually thinks about Bloomberg, because the buzz is really loud, but also the negative pushback is really fierce. And the Bernie camp is really pissed off at the Bloomberg camp, and there's like definitely some sharp elbows going on. There's going to start to be some polling, and theoretically next week he will be on the debate stage, which will make him a number one target of everyone, right? I mean, so can he weather that?
I think so. I mean, money talks, right? Money talks a really good game in the United States. And when we think about the national stage, I just think Bloomberg is going to have the dollars to just pump content into different channels, and and he has the name recognition. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you on that, and I'll tell you why. So here's a name that we don't ever talk about: Tom Steyer. He's been pouring personal money. He's a whatever multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever his economics are, and he's literally not moved the needle. So if it were just about dollars, then I think
yeah. But you know what Bloomberg has is, it's not the same as Trump, but like Bloomberg has his name on media. Like he has his name on things already.
So here's the debate I have about Bloomberg, and then we can talk about the digital thing a little bit more, which is really where the nugget of the question is. I think if you look at where he's spent philanthropically over the years, in whether it's what he's doing around guns and Everytown, for sensible gun ownership, his gun lobby, it's not, none of it's about like put my name on this. I mean, I know wealthy people that will donate to museums and things as long as their name is on the building. He's just not that guy. Like his philanthropy has been effective and focused, whether or not he was running for anything. And anyway, but I think Tom Steyer is a non-starter. By the way, it's not that Bloomberg is more. I don't know. It's complicated, and yet, if I have to think of a race where I think someone's going to take Trump on, someone told me that Bloomberg's hired a psychologist to unpack Trump's psychosis and know what things they can say that will get under his skin.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would love to be a fly on the wall in those conversations.
Well,
I mean, I feel like, don't we know? Just like you can see it on Twitter what he reacts to.
Yeah, but yes, you can. But like the whole, Trump called Bloomberg short, and so Bloomberg came back and called Trump heavy.
Right.
Like it is a little childish, right? It's a little childish. Our listeners, by the way, are shrugging their shoulders, going, "Really? We're talking about this? All right. Anyway, let's finish up. So the question of the first section of the pod is, does Bloomberg's digital chops give him the edge that he needs to at least level the playing field, so that the Facebook game isn't being won by Trump?
Yeah, I mean, it makes him a contender for sure.
Yeah, no, I think so too. All right, so on to chapter 2. Chapter 2 is about this idea of couples that run startups together, and I know of a couple. And
we're talking to one.
Indeed we are, and I'll get there in a minute. But let me start by saying, does that make any sense to you?
So my parents ran a small business the entire duration of my childhood and most of my adult life. So I've always had a mental model of married couples working together, and it's never ever fazed me. But I do think that it's really difficult. I mean, any relationship is difficult and communication is hard. I just think that when married couples start a business together and they work together, it just means that they're committed to actually doing double the work, double the emotional labor, double the, you know, the soft skills.
So here's how I answer. So my wife and I have started 5 companies together, and here's what I always tell people: like, I don't recommend it for anyone except us.
Wow.
And part of that is startups are so hard to begin with that like I could imagine an alternate lifestyle where you get to come home and not be you know dealing with work
Well,
24/7.
that TechCrunch article talked about one of the couples, and they have a timer like 8 p.m. They basically say once this iPhone alarm goes off at 8 p.m., no work talk.
Does that work? I wonder. Can you?
I just don't even know how to do that because like even in my own relationship, I am so guilty of bringing work baggage at home.
Yeah, well,
And so like if I'm like pissed off like or I'm stressed or I'm on deadline for something, like how could I not shut it down at 8?
but people that are kind of type A workaholic, deep in the weeds of the business, like you bring it home because it's interesting and complicated and frustrating, and if you're and this is the one thing that I often, I remember years ago somebody came to me and he said, I'm thinking of doing a startup, but I have to talk to my fiance about whether or not it would be okay with her. And I was like, I can answer that question. If that's where you guys are, you're already past like there was never a time where Pam and I had this, hey, should we do a business together conversation?
Right.
It was like literally we liked being together, we liked working together, we liked building stuff. And one of the secrets that I don't often say out loud is that like in many situations she's much smarter than I am. So I'll have all these ideas and she'll be like, and she's the only person that will say to me with no with no hesitation, these are all terrible. Like no one will tell you these are terrible, and but I'm telling you, this is the only one that has even a glimmer of hope, and these other 3 are terrible.
Well, what's so interesting, right, is like that type of communication, that type of trust, you almost wish that was more commonplace at work, right? Forget being married. It's like any person who's on my team and who I work with every day, I would love for them to feel that comfortable telling me that my idea is a bad one, right? And it actually speaks to like the dysfunction of work relationships, right? When people don't actually have that implicit trust and like default level of understanding.
Yeah, well, and if you think about it, so I'm co-teaching this cohort at the Combine, the Media Labs Startup Accelerator, and so one of the things I find myself saying is, look, you've got to go out, you've got to talk to lots of customers, you've got to get lots of input, but at the end of the day, there's 2 things going on in your head. One is this feedback that's saying, this is a terrible idea, I don't like it, and you're like, yeah, but if it were obvious, if everyone's like, oh yeah, I would do that, then someone else is doing it too. So
right.
How far do there's a famous Ted Turner quote, which is, someone asked him years ago about focus groups, and he said, if you'd focus grouped CNN, you would have gotten 100% reaction from the people that you spoke to saying, we don't need more news.
Yeah.
So how do you get feedback about an idea that isn't immediately apparently a customer need?
Right.
And I think that in some ways, married co-founders solve that problem, because if you trust that other person to be kind of your zig to their zag or whatever, like sometimes they'll say, yeah, I don't get it, but I see in your eyes that you think there's something there, so let's work that problem and figure out what it is, as opposed to just
using your gut,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, which maybe doesn't work as well in startup world today as it did 10 years ago.
So I've had friends date who are entrepreneurs, and that's usually They haven't all necessarily gotten married, but the empathy is really important. Like, I think starting a company is one of the most, it's a really hard experience and it's unique. And I think for people who are not founders or maybe not friends with founders, it's like you could easily feel like second class to the business, and it's hard to date that. So just, having the empathy 24/7 from a partner is great.
So one of the other things that's changed is it used to be that work was work and home was home and family was family and weekends were weekends. But everything's gotten so blurry in the last, 10 years, essentially post iPhone.
Right.
I mean, you go out to a nice restaurant and you look across the restaurant and there's a young couple and they're on a date or whatever, and they both have phones in their hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to be judgmental about that, and I think it depends. So oftentimes now with Pam and I in conversations, she'll say, "Well, look, let me look that up," and we'll be like talking about something and wanting to get real time data about a fact that we're discussing.
Right.
Like I always try to be disciplined about if you're in a nice restaurant, phones go in the basket or whatever the rule is.
Mm-hmm.
But there was an article that we pulled up from Economic Times in India.com that talked about two founders who were in a relationship and they're a 20-year long relationship and they're gay. And I was like, does that add a weird layer? I was like trying to figure out whether that no. And the answer is partnerships are partnerships, and bringing business into them is hard, kind of whatever your particular world is.
I think it was interesting that to understand if VCs are actually less skeptical, right? There was I don't think it was I think it was more in the TechCrunch article, but like VCs would basically say like, oh, we would have funded you as an individual, but we're not willing to fund you as a couple because you've only been together for a year. And then they didn't go in on that round, and then they went in on the next round at a much higher valuation, and it was just like, oh no.
If you think about the fact that mostly what VCs do is try and reduce risk, right?
Yeah.
I think a couple adds risk exponentially. One could quit, the other could quit, they could both quit, they could get divorced and fight.
But if say like, I don't know, what's the stat? 60% of marriages end in divorce. What is isn't the percentage though of co-founders who stay together the duration of a business significantly lower than 40% marriage success rate?
By the way, this would you should ask your parents this question. I mean, because one of the things people say to me, well, if you could do it over again, would you and Pam not start businesses? And the answer is no. We've had a really good ride. Now, to be fair, at the moment we both have separate jobs, which is the first time in our relationship, and is a different chapter, and is in some ways quite a bit more chill.
My parents would do it over again in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Like, they love their life. They love what they've done together, and it's cool. It's like my mom runs all of the operations, my dad sells, and as we record right now, my mom organized a surprise party for my dad. Happy birthday, 60th birthday, Dad.
All right, so that's good to know. I feel the same way. That, by the way, there'd be a fun piece of research to do about startup married co-founders and their likelihood of success and where there are failures. But we won't do that on this show because it is time to move to chapter 3. Let us talk about Instagram TV.
Yeah, I'm surprised this hasn't been. I think maybe I'm just not again, I've been off Instagram now for a year, but when I was on it, they were rolling it out, and I was just under the assumption that it was already kind of a revenue stream on day one.
So it has been historically rather challenging to up. So in particular IGTV. So here's my completely uninformed theory about what's going on. So Instagram is owned by Facebook. Internally at Facebook, video is their number one priority on both of their or all of their platforms. They're doing Facebook Watch. They've moved that around. They've had it at the bottom of the page. They've had it as it hasn't quite, they claim it's taking off, but there's no data to back that up. And in terms of my use of Facebook, and I'm still somewhat regularly on it, I've never felt any need to become a viewer of Facebook Watch. So Instagram has a parallel strategy. They're going to build a standalone app. This is now going back a year and a half, called IGTV, and they're literally going to try and see if they can get young people who've already abandoned Facebook, but don't feel the same way about Instagram, to kind of migrate over to IGTV, and that will be their video win. So it's like it's like Coca-Cola spinning off, Diet Cherry Coke and Diet Lime Coke and all these other, anything that works, they're good with. Mm-hmm. But Instagram TV as a creator had all kinds of complexity around getting video. It had to be a certain length. It had to be formatted 9:16, not 16:9. So you had to shoot it to fit in. It was just flipping hard.
Yeah.
And, nothing's that hard, right? It's just another 10 minutes when you're outputting a project that you want to, you have to output it in this flavor square and this flavor with lower thirds. And Instagram, I don't think ever really got over that. So the fact that they're now finally making it easier to be able to upload, I think, I have a project at the Media Lab, and we'll be testing Instagram again next week. So we're going back to it.
So it's interesting because do you post your live feed a lot on Instagram? Like, talk me through your Instagram habits. Like, how much do you take a photo or a video and post to your main feed? How much of it do you post live? And then as a media maker, as a content creator, what is appealing about Instagram TV relative to sort of the other two ways people use it?
All right, let me see if I can I use it haphazardly.
Okay.
And that's just because so here are the social networks I'm active on: Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Mm-hmm. Not Snap. Been in and out of it. But Instagram, for me, is kind of the bottom of the barrel, just because most of my peeps, they'll go there to look at pretty pictures or dogs or whatever. But in terms of stories, mm-hmm. It's just a production element that I've not added to my workflow. That being said, though, one of the people who's been working with us at the Media Lab, the other day we were talking about how she found out about what we were doing, and she said, "Oh, on Instagram." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Tell me how that." And she said, "Oh, not your Instagram. It was the NYU Tandon Instagram." And I'm like, mm-hmm. Ouch. Okay. So we need to do a better job of publishing. If Instagram is the channel to young people and students, and we're literally counting on other people's Instagram efforts to bring people in the door, like that was the big. So I do think it's demographically really relevant.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the analogy and I guess the social media strategy I would almost apply. It's like, it's almost like, okay, so Instagram is a channel. It's like your main feed. It's almost like your website, right? It's the thing that's probably like more static. Your stories are really like almost akin to like Twitter, right? And often stories are real time, and they're meant to sort of catalyze like DMs and conversation. My interpretation of Instagram TV is that it's actually trying to reach sort of a more highbrow like content creator who would basically be the YouTube creator.
Yeah. And which brings us to ad revenue sharing, which I think is what you said was kind of like, duh, how can they not be doing that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just so crazy though, right? Because there's just so much content that's being made. And so how much of this is a production play versus a distribution play? If you had to draw a pie chart around it, like everyone is trying to get to basically produce and distribute more, right?
So why do you think they went slow on monetization for IGTV?
Maybe because they just wanted to, like, if they're going after a premium content creator, then maybe they wanted to sort of be purists about, like the experience. Like, oh, we don't just like take any type of content. We want to work exclusively with you.
Yeah, I get that, but
It's like an interesting go-to-market approach, but like I don't even know if that's necessary because I feel like they could have partnered with so many brands and influencers to launch and basically already sold it and packaged it with like sponsored content layered in.
yeah, I look, the thing about like, so maybe to wrap things up, I'll just add like a button onto this. We're now a couple of weeks away from the launch of Quibi.
Oh my gosh, they've been like their ads everywhere. Super Bowl, like crazy. I had no idea what they were.
Yeah, I know people that literally there's a betting pool going on, and I know people who think that they are going to be the next big thing, and I know other people that think it's going to land like it's going to be Verizon's Go 90 all over again.
Wow. What do you think it's going to be?
So I think Katzenberg is right in that people consume content in smaller bites online in mobile than are currently conveniently published. So I think I think he's right for that analysis. I was surprised that everything was going to be paid at launch, and that even the $4 a month, $4.99 a month plan was going to have ads.
Yeah. I mean, but you see that with all of these IPOs, right? It's like the market and investors are being much more discerning. I think are harder on tech. I mean, even TikTok, right? Is so early, and they ran Super Bowl ads, and they had Nike signed as a sponsor. It was like a whole campaign that they did around the Super Bowl. It's like it was interesting because that just feels like so like for a company that is that young, it feels so atypical.
Yeah, I guess the mistake that I think that I worry that Quibi is making is if the content is really good and really sticky and people are going to say, "Oh my God, you got to see this thing," they're making a decision to essentially cut off the sampling portion of the they raised what $2 billion.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a cash flow problem. It's not.
Yeah, I guess it's just once you give away things for free, it's always hard to then charge and take away.
So how do you get buzz if no one sees it who hasn't paid?
It's in their go-to-market is really interesting. It's either the content and the maybe they like are giving or seeding free subscriptions away to just the right networks and people.
Maybe.
Or they're going to have some trials and then just get people hooked from there. But like, it's interesting to set the expectation that, paid is going to sort of be it from the beginning.
Look, I think what we don't know is, people have a tolerance for what they're willing to pay for, right? So I'm definitely going to pay for Netflix, and then I'm going to Hulu, maybe not, HBO, yes, I'm gonna right. So everybody's got that place where they go, all right, stop. I've got enough, and something that comes down to timing, right? I mean, if for young people, they're riding along on their parents' Netflix subscription, they haven't paid for anything themselves. YouTube is hitting them up endlessly for YouTube Red, but they've walked away from that.
I would love to see the consumer stats that compare cohorts over the years and entertainment spend. Like, are we spending more now on Hulu and Spotify and whatever Quibi Premium and etc. today, or was I spending more money say 20 years ago, like going to the movies, getting popcorn, and like putting gas in my car to get to the movie theater? Like, I mean, remember, like, movies got really expensive. Like, I stopped going to the movies because I think it was, like, at least a $60 thing every time I went.
Yep.
The tickets with the 3D, the whatever, the popcorn, the soda, that's like a $50-$60 thing in New York.
Yep. And with that, we are out of time. That was a good button. That was well done. Have an excellent week, and enjoy President's Day for all of the weirdness that comes with that.
And if you're home from school with the kiddies, enjoy.
See ya.